Hello there. Thanks for joining in today. So this will be a short-ish practice which incorporates a bit of everything actually. So some nice movement if you've decided to take this class in the morning. Maybe you've got a busy day, or maybe you're busy being more sedentary at work at your desk. This could be a nice little break in your day. So join me by sitting. I'm sitting cross-legged. You might appreciate a little bit of height. You could sit on a blanket or a yoga block if you have a yoga block. Anything really that will just prop your hips up if it feels more comfortable for you. So bring the hands to rest on the knees, let the shoulders drop down. Sit tall, sit as tall as you can. Feel that you can lengthen the spine. And what I mean from that is to keep the pelvis connected to the floor or your seat. And feel that you're not leaning forward, sideways, of course, or backwards. So you can extend the spine into an upright position. With the very top part of the spine, the very base of the skull, and the skull itself extending, reaching towards the sky. Relax the face, close the eyes. And let's take a few minutes to prepare. Breathing in and out through the nose so that when you're breathing in, you can feel a sense of expansion around the upper body. And breathing out through the nose, so breathing slowly out, feeling the upper body contract. Let's notice that in a little bit more detail. So when you're breathing in, the belly may expand, the chest will begin to expand, the ribs are going to open out as the air fills the lung cavity. So breathe into the fullness of your chest and ribs. And when you're breathing out, feel the belly begin to draw in, feel the ribs begin to release or contract as your rib cage grows a little bit smaller. So when the breath leaves the lungs, the rib cage releasing. Continue to breathe in this way, feeling the extent of your torso, the broadness, the depth, and the length. The breath moving in this three-dimensional space, as in the space of your chest in 3 dimensions, expanding in all directions as the breath moves in. And whilst you're sitting here, take a few moments to think about why you showed up for this session, or why you've decided to take this session, and what it is that you're looking for today. And then around that reason, your personal reason, see if you can form an intention for your practice. So if you just needed some headspace for 20 minutes or so, your intention would be to maybe, I'll be feeling calmer. So I will feel calmer. I am feeling calmer. Okay, I'm going to begin to gently open the eyes and begin to move onto all fours, so onto your hands and knees. As you're moving onto your hands and knees, you want to have the wrists directly under the shoulders, the knees under the hips, and we're going to tuck the toes underneath. So intentionally curling the toes under just to give the soles of the feet a bit of a stretch at the same time. keeping the arms straight and still, begin to lift the chest, arch the spine, and then rounding. And as you're rounding, pushing the back of the spine and chest towards the sky, tilting the back of the pelvis backwards and down. So the first part, let's repeat. Inhale as you lift the chest up. And then exhale, again, in and out through the nose as you're rounding the spine. So inhale as you lift the chest. Exhale as you round. Inhale as you lift the chest. And exhale as you round. And then let's make it a little bit less obvious. Still breathing in and out through the nose. And turn the spine and twist, torque, rotate the spine side to side, as well as the arching and rounding mechanism. Also, when you do this, it's really great to get a little bit warmer in your shoulders, your lower back, and your hip joints too. So you can move the upper body in any way. It's a little bit more intuitive around how the body's feeling. And continue to breathe in and out fully and slowly as you're moving around. And then from here, we're going to release the hips towards the heels. So without forcing the hips back, a little bit more weight in the feet as well. So check forward, hands and wrists shoulder width apart. So extending out through your arms now. You need to press fairly firm into the hands, especially around the base of the knuckle on the first finger. And then try to keep the forearms lifting from the floor, which basically means you're not bending your elbows. So resist the urge to bend the elbows, which might make it feel a little bit easier. Widen across the back of the shoulders. And now we're going to untuck the toes, press the tops of the feet to the floor, and then sit the hips back again. And you might find you go, it doesn't matter if you don't force the hips down. Take 3 more breaths. And then from here, we're going to walk the hands over to the left. So reach both hands probably off the mat. And grow your right arm longer. Well, it's not going longer, of course, but you want to stretch down the right side. From that right baby finger, down the right arm. And of course, around the right shoulder and ribs. So feel the breath around your ribs and waist whilst you stretch on that side. Walk the hands across and all the way over to the second right side. And you're going to do the same, of course, on the left hand and arm. Down the left side of the ribs, waist. Bring the hands forward. When you come up onto hands and knees, check that the wrists are still shoulder width apart. The knees are directly underneath your hip joints. We're going to take downward facing dog. So tuck the toes again. Press into the hands, hover the knees, and then pressing the chest towards the thighs, lifting the hips up. And again, keeping the arms straight. So pressing the base of that first finger, so the knuckle of the base of the first finger rooting down into the mat. Release around the shoulders as well. So avoid crunching up around the ears, find a widening spaciousness around the top of the upper chest and shoulders. Try to release the toes. Quite tricky if you find that your feet are quite tight, but try to avoid gripping the mat with your toes if you can. And then looking forward, walking the feet, we're going to take the feet all the way or as close as you can to the space between the hands. If it helps, bring the fingertips to the floor to give you a little bit of space. And then when you get the feet to the top of your mat, have the feet hip width apart, little bend in the knees. Inhale, lift the chest. Look forward, exhale and folding, reaching down with the hands wherever that is, to the floor or either side of the feet. Let's do that again. If it's useful, again, come up onto the fingertips as you lift the chest. And then breathing out, folding into the legs. Inhale again, one more of these. Look forward, lift the chest. Exhale, fold in. And tuck the chin in. This time we're going to do the same movement, but rise all the way up to stand. Notice how my knees stay slightly bent as I'm moving into a standing position, reaching the arms up overhead. Look up to the fingers or to the space between the hands, and then bringing the palms together at the chest. From here, let's breathe in, reach up with the arms again. Maybe bring the palms together, but don't force them. And then turn the palms out, bend the knees again. So that same movement in reverse, so that the abdomen moves close to the thighs. Bring the hands down to the floor or either side of the feet. Inhale, lift, lengthen. Look forward. Exhale, bend the knees as much as you need to get the hands comfortably onto the mat. We're going to step both feet behind. First of all, into a high plank position. Now, you might want to bring the knees to the floor. Inhale. Exhale, lower to bring the chest to the space between the hands. Untuck the toes. Palms are under the shoulders, so breathe in, staying in a low cobra position with the hips on the mat, the elbows bent, but pull the shoulders back from the ears. And then lowering down. Let's do that again 2 more times. Inhale, low cobra. Exhale, lowering down. Inhale as you come up. Exhale as you lower down. Now we're going to press to the hands and knees and then tuck the toes again for downward dog. Lifting the hips up. Breathing in and out through the nose. 2 more breaths here. Look forward, walking the feet to the top of the mat again. So the same feet hip width apart, hands are low. Inhale, lift the chest, look forward. Exhale as you fold in. Just this one time, this time. Inhale and rise to stand up this time. Reaching overhead with your arms. And exhale the hands to the chest. Repeat that, rising up with the arms, breathing in, and then breathing out as you fold. Again, bend the knees, reach down. Each time getting a little bit warmer, but bending the knees feels good for your lower back for most people. Breathe in, look forward, and then lower the hands to the floor. So you might need to bend the knees to do that. So second option here, if you want to try a slightly harder variation, is to have the legs straight. Breathe in at the top, and then breathing out again to bring the chest between the hands. Still untuck the toes, and we're still going to keep that low cobra. Elbows hugging into the ribs, shoulders stay down, and then breathing out, lowering the chest back to the floor. Press to the hands and knees. Again, tuck the toes, and breathe out to downward dog. Slow, steady breaths in through the nose and then out through the nose. Look forward, walking the feet forward again. Exactly the same, feet hip width apart. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise, reaching up. Exhale, hands to chest. Inhale, rise. Exhale, fold. Reach down with the hands, but then inhale, just lifting the chest to look forward. Exhale, bring the hands to the floor, step back, high plank. You can stay with half plank with the knees. You can stay with your normal plank going low to the mat, or you can come to chaturanga. So this hovering position is chaturanga. And then you can untuck the toes from chaturanga and then maybe lift up higher. If you're not familiar with upward dog, you can stick with cobra. Inhale. And then either coming to the hands and knees or straight into downward dog as you flip the feet and pressing the chest back. Full breath in through the nose and out through the nose. Okay, we're going to lift the right leg, lift it high. Look forward. Exhale, step the right foot to the space between the hands. Now, if it didn't quite make it there, you can, of course, use your right hand, bring the foot to that space. Keep the back knee down. Low lunge position, lifting the chest, reaching up with your arms. Find that fullness of breath again. And as you breathe out, bringing the hands down. Now we're going to use the fingertips if it's useful. Hope you can see that there. Fingertips on the mat. Carefully extend out through the front leg. Now that might not mean straight, but going straighter. Okay, so just checking in. How's it feel on the right leg? You might even want to lift the toes. And as you do that, you're flexing the ankle, which makes the right leg go a little bit straighter. So check that feels okay. Creates a bit more tension in the back of the leg. Breathing in here. Now, if this still feels good, breathing out, folding over. Okay, so the word good is really important here. This isn't a painful experience. And therefore, you should not be looking for that sensation in your body. And then releasing to bring the right foot flat. And extend the back leg. So straighten out the back leg, lift the left back knee. And lift the chest forward without lifting the hips up. Okay, so the hips stay so that your right thigh is about horizontal. Your right thigh is horizontal. And your right knee is over your right ankle. Make the back leg really firm. So push the back of your left knee up towards the sky. And then you might need to lower the back knee down. If it's useful, you can press your hand flat to the floor. Hips, extend your right leg up, back, and high. Exhale, right foot down to the mat. Let's do the second side. Inhale, lift the left leg high. Exhale, step the left foot forward and through the space between the hands again. Lower the back knee. Inhale for this low lunge position, reaching up with the arms. And then bringing the hands to the floor. So hands to the floor helps you to feel more stable as you extend your front leg. So check out how it feels here on the second side. You can lift your toes so you're flexing your left ankle. Inhale. If you're happy, again, the word happy, really important, to fold over your left leg, which might make you not happy. check in with your breath. If you're not breathing, you're probably not that happy. If you're holding your breath, check out why. And then exhale the left foot back to the floor, so your left knee's bending. And you need to have the hands down to the mat again, so palms or fingertips, but tucking the back toes to lift your right knee off the mat, and then see if you can lift the chest a little bit, but try not to lose the bent leg position on the left side. So you're staying low with your hips, but powering up into the right leg, back of the right knee towards the sky. Now, if it's useful, bend your right knee to the floor, press the palms, tuck the back toes are tucked, and then lifting the hips, lift the left leg high. Lowering the left foot to the floor. Okay, let's begin to walk the feet forward again to the space between the hands. So feet hip width apart. Inhale, lift, lengthen. Exhale, fold in. You can again keep the knees bent. Don't feel you have to get them straight, but you might be feeling a little bit looser around the back of the legs and lower back. Reach the arms up. Bringing the hands to the chest. Okay. Then we're going to do a balanced posture in the form of tree pose. So if you want to, you could face the camera or face whichever way that helps your focus and concentration. We're going to have, as a mirror image, we're going to have the left foot flat to the floor and we're going to bend the right knee. So for tree pose, you can take a lower, simple version if your balance is a little bit tricky, or you can take a slightly more challenging variation. It might not be challenging for you, I guess, if you've practiced this lots. So spread the left toes, spread them wide, create this solid foundation. But again, your toes are relaxed, which can be quite tricky. When we start to shift the weight there, notice the tendency to maybe grip the floor. And then shift the weight to the left. Check that the hips haven't moved as you've shifted the weight over to the left, and that the two sides of your hip joints are level. This is going to be a nice challenge here. Okay, let's start to lift the right foot, toes off the mat. And you can bring your right foot to the inside of the leg. The right knee is moving wide. And if you're feeling pretty good here, or this is your practice, bring the foot into the inner thigh of the left leg. So standing tall, and check out what's happening with those left toes. Now, hands at chest is a nice place if you feel that this is enough of a challenge or balance, and you can also reach up with your arms if you want to. As you reach the arms up, we tend to load up the posture a little bit more, so it's a little bit away from our center of gravity, which can make it challenging in a good way, right? So see what works for you, and steady the breath again. And then gradually lowering the hands to the chest, and then bringing both hands to your hips. Release the right foot down to the floor. When you place the right foot, spread the toes. Try to relax the toes wide, and when you're shifting the weight across to the right, try not to swivel the hips. Notice if that happens, and sometimes we do that without realizing, because we're trying to counteract the fact that we're putting weight on one side. But actually, if you want to keep the muscles and the joints aligned, which might make it harder. So notice if that's something that you have done, maybe you have done before, the practice with me, or just because it's habit. Pressing the left foot in to the inside of the leg. Stand tall, level in the hips and pelvis, and with the arms as you wish. You can reach up if you like. You can do whatever feels good here in tree pose. There's lots of fancy variations which can feel quite nice and expressive. So go with what you feel good with today. Steady breaths. And then as you breathe out, releasing the hands to the chest, the hips, and the left foot flat back down to the mat. Now we're going to take a low squat posture. Squats are not for everybody, so if you have any sensitivity in your knee, you might find that you want to either not do this at all, or I can show you a variation. But for the variation, you would need either some big thick books, a stack of books, maybe three or four cookbooks, or you might even have some yoga props or blocks in your house. So the version you choose is, of course, your choice, and you can work out what feels good for you. So start off, and you can decide if it's not for you, and I'll show you the variation in a moment. So have the feet probably about as wide as your mat. There's a good marker. You're maybe not facing that way. So wider than your hips for sure. The toes turned out slightly. So we're going to bend the knees down, bend the knees to take the pelvis down, and you want the knees and feet to point the same direction. Okay, so a low squat position is really, really good for us. It takes a lot of strength, it takes a lot of flexibility, but that's why it's so good for us, right? So see how you experience it, lowering the hips when you feel ready. So the hips come down, the knees are going to go wide without forcing the knees into an uncomfortable position. So it should feel okay in your knees. If it doesn't, then I'll show you the variation. Okay, press the upper arms into the inside of the leg and maybe press the palms together. And I like to do that just to give a sense of widening. As you press the upper arms into the leg, the knees or legs move back, and I like to use that to help lift the chest. But what you're also lifting, just to be clear here, I'm not sitting on the floor. Kind of looks like I am on the video here. But you're trying to lift your lower back. So re-extending your spine. So remember that feeling of extending the spine at the very, very beginning. See if you can begin to feel the same. Notice that you might not be quite, because you might be leaning forward. You might not be leaning back, I guess, because leaning back is really, really part of this challenge. So you don't want to topple back, and you want to keep weight into the heels. Okay, so this is the variation that is assuming your knees are okay. And if your knees are not okay, you can stack up your blocks or equipment and you can sit on the blocks instead. What that does is allows your feet to come further forward, so the knee joints are not as fully closed. That might make it more accessible for you if you have any challenge in your knees. It still might not be good, so still don't force the legs if you're not happy. My feet have come further forward, and you can still create the same form without the weight in your knees as well. So the feet are still flat to the floor, toes still turned out, and you can use your hands on your legs to lift your chest. So stack the spine again if you can. Wherever you are, and if you're in that first posture, you might be feeling a little bit tired. So take a few more breaths, stop when you need to. So really good, strengthening the back, strengthening around the pelvis, the hips, the thighs, the buttocks. Also a lot going on in the ankles as well, perhaps for some of you here as well. Okay, we're going to take a rest from here. You might be glad to know. So taking a rest from a low squat position, and you're going to come to have a seat on the floor. I'm moving on one posture to the next quite quick, just to keep this a small class, a shorter class. Extend the legs out without forcing the back of the knees down. So if your hamstrings are quite tight, you can keep the knees a little bit bent, but you can feel your way in. So like we did standing, we're going to take a forward fold. The standing version, we bent the knees. Might be the same experience in the sitting position. Flex the ankles. I'm going to have my legs a bit straighter just because it's natural for me to do that. Don't force the legs straight. Lift the lower back. Lift your chest. Remember, check that the ankles are flexed, the toes draw back. Inhale, reach up with the arms. So create length through the spine. And then breathing out, bringing the hands somewhere down the legs. Doesn't have to be the feet. Wherever you're reaching. And then inhale, look forward. Pull the shoulders from the ears, chest forward and through the space of the shoulders. And breathing out as you fold. So ideally, most people need to keep gazing to the toes rather than straining the neck to get the head down. So keep gazing to the toes, lengthening your lower back. Take one more breath. And then releasing to come all the way back up. Shuffle the hips forward to the middle of your mat and lay down on the back of the body. Start off with the knees bent. Draw the right knee in. And then right leg extended. Flex the left ankle. Try to get the right thigh close to the ribs. We're going to take this into a twist. So we're going to turn onto the left side of the pelvis. Let the right leg come across the body, the right foot towards the floor. Now, if this is quite intense on your lower back, you might want to bend both knees and bring both feet out to the left side. The straight left leg version is a little bit more intense on the lower back area, so see what feels good for you. Right shoulder towards the floor, maybe reaching the right arm out if you've got the space. Turn the head to the right side. And then releasing back to center, feet to the floor. Draw the left knee in, same on the second side, of course. Extend the right leg, left thigh close to the left ribs. From here to the twist and turning onto the right side of the hips and pelvis. Either with the right leg straight, or you could bend both knees and your left shoulder in the direction of the floor. Turn the head to the left. And then releasing back to the center. As you get yourself to center, shuffle around to level out the shoulders relative to the pelvis and hips, and then either keeping the knees bent, you could have a little bit of space between the feet and allow the knees to drop in, or you could straighten out, extend the legs if you feel that your lower back is happy with that. Shoulders rolling towards the floor, turn the palms to the sky, and then relax across the upper back and chest so that the lower ribs begin dropping down, so they're naturally just sort of dropping towards the mat. Releasing the abdomen, feeling the breath slowing down, and begin to breathe in your natural pattern. So if that's not through the nose, maybe you'd like to change that now, or maybe you've got into the groove of breathing through your nose, but feel that the breath is beginning to move to a more effortless, simple pattern of breathing. Feeling the rib cage dropping, settling down, releasing heavily, helping you relax, feeling that you're melting into the mat as you're relaxing the muscles. Check in and notice any tension or holding in the body, maybe even around your face and jaw or your neck. And then beginning to wake up, begin to move your fingers and your toes. You could take longer if you had more time, of course, as always, do what feels good. Begin to wake up the body, moving the arms and bending your knees in your own gradual time. Rolling over gently to one side, so resting on the side body as you support the head with one of your arms or hands. Slowly bringing yourself all the way up to a sitting position, sitting upright. Again, however you wish. Rest the hands, allow the shoulders to stay low from the ears. Lift your spine. Take 3 full breaths. And bringing the palms together. Take a moment to reflect on your intention for your practice. Whatever that was, and however you feel now. Thank you for your practice. Namaste.